My name is Hsiao. I'm in 11th grade currently. New York Penn Station, Incoherent Urban Calamity, is about the lack of coherence in Pennsylvania Station in New York City. Arriving today in New York's Pennsylvania Station, as any commuter, tourist, or local may attest, is a degraded business.
Audience is another really important thing in a review. You're not only considering the audience that you're writing for, which in this case is the New York Times, but you're also considering the audience for whom this specific thing is created for. And I'm wondering, how did you figure out who the audience for Penn Station was, and how did you write this review with them in mind?
I chose to focus on the commuter, the tourist, and the local, or as I like to call them, the trio, which encompasses the majority of Penn Station's users. And I introduced them right in the first sentence. I wanted the readership, as I mentioned earlier, to be broad and diverse, but I also wanted them to have some sort of personal connection to it. And I think everyone can identify with a tourist or a local, for example, because, I mean, who hasn't been a tourist or a local before? Modern Penn Station, unlike its illustrious state-of-the-art predecessor, is sorely unequipped to handle its 21st century demands. In fact, a brief visit confirms that Penn Station 2.0, a subterranean hellhole, lacks absolute coherence. So that was my main idea here, that Penn Station was incoherent. But I elaborated on this by connecting it to the human impact it had. Penn Station's obstructive configuration isn't just frustrating for riders, it actually endangers their lives. Yet Penn Station doesn't only want to kill you, it sucks the humanity out of you. So it wasn't a thing necessarily. The obstruction and the incoherence wasn't just an aesthetic thing, which didn't matter. No, it had a real world impact on the commuters, on the tourists, on the locals who passed through this enormous transportation hub every day.
One thing that I think you do really well in this review too is you have so many excellent descriptive details all throughout the review. And I'm wondering, how did you come up with those, and how did you decide which ones were going to be most relevant to your review?
And the audience is much more important to focus on than, for example, a specific shop or eatery. So that's how I decided to critique things. I wouldn't necessarily focus on really teeny tiny details which most people would overlook and which would not be relevant to most people when they went to visit Penn Station, but rather things that they would encounter and things that would matter to them as they experienced it, maybe in the way I did. Oh, and have I mentioned the baffling signs? Downstairs, I observe a man holding a map and scratching his head, clearly confused. People here look lost, because they are.